I'm a stepmother. Of course, I'm going to live up to every evil, horrible stereotype. In today's episode of Mother Monster, we're going to go to Georgia and visit the tragic case of Emani Moss and what we can consider the Hunger Games. Refrigerator locked, food not available, the whole nine. To add to that, a evil stepmother. Where do we get these people from? Born on April 23rd, 2003, Amani Gabrielle Moss entered the world with a tough start. It was a beautiful little girl. Her biological mother was addicted to all kinds of substances and surrendered her parental rights to her boyfriend, aka man, in the care of her father, Emani Moss. And the reason why I'm saying aka whatever, because we were really kind of unsure of what kind of relationship. The woman was not available mentally. She was addicted to and everything. But Iman had his own history. This is why this case is kind of like, ugh. Iman had his own history of violence, and he was convicted of battery and child after assaulting Imani's mother. So he had already had some issues that had to deal with. But despite his past, he was given full custody, y'all. Full custody. Hoping for a fresh start, they gave it to him. I mean, it's in Georgia. I don't know if the pickings is slow. I know in my community, we'd be like, fathers need to step up. This one came through, but I'm like, can we get anybody else? Anyway, he ended up meeting Tiffany Moss, a preschool teacher at a church, and they married in 2009 and had two children of their own together. So it looked like the idyllic situation. There was no reason to believe outside of his background, which was everything. And just so y'all know, I blame everybody. But again, Georgia said, let us see. But what should have been a new beginning quickly became a nightmare. This woman had a dark personality. She had a dark energy about her. There was no reason to believe that she could have been the perfect mother figure. But again, they were trying to force it. Everybody got issues. She's a preschool teacher. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Everything. In March 2010, Amani, who was just 6 years old at the time, tells a school nurse that she feared going home. So she's talking to the people at school, doing everything she should do. The nurse finds her has whelps, scabs, and little bruises all over. So they reported it like, what is going on? This baby is afraid to go home. Well, Amani reveals that Tiffany, with a curtain rod for getting a bad report card. Now, down south, depending upon whatever, spare the rod for the child, literally. Oh my goodness, I just realized that's exactly what she used. So some people may not think this is not too bad, but no. That can be very painful for a grown adult and definitely a child. Tiffany was arrested and charged with first-degree child C, but receives only 5 years of probation instead of jail time. Now, I know they like to lock up folks in Georgia, but apparently they give leeway to monsters because this situation did not get better anytime soon. After the incident, Amani is removed from the home and placed with her grandmother, y'all. It was so good. The grandmother got her. The baby was thriving. She was happier. She just really enjoyed her time with Robin. Okay. But just 6 months later, Iman fought for custody. Okay, your wife, who you're still with, went to jail for not being a good mother and being an evil stepmother at that. And now you're fighting for custody? What is up? Robin pleads with the authorities to let Imani stay, but her cries go unheard. For whatever reason, Georgia was not feeling it. In July 2012, Imani ran away twice. And she told the police that her stepmother had tied her, forced her to take a cold shower, and the police returned her home after Tiffany denied the accusations. This is what really, in my community, we had the eye for mothers. And this is one of the things that's very annoying. The little girl did all she could to make it known what was happening, and it went on deaf ears. Of course, the abuser is going to say, no, I'm not doing it. I mean, really. Days later, she is found sleeping in the bushes and telling the police she ran away again because she did not like this Tiffany person. Okay? Even after Emani ran for her life, the world sent her back into the arms of this monster, this mother monster. Okay? In 2013, the final warning signs appear. A family member calls child services and reporting that Emani is really thin and then she's not eating. It looks like she's not eating. GDFCS, which is the Georgia peoples that's supposed to be watching the babies, as y'all know, dismisses the case, claiming they had no current address or evidence of maltreatment. This case should have brought so much attention to a lot, but y'all, we're not done. Because if you know on my channel, you know that I feel that we are experiencing more of a mental health crisis than people want to let on. Okay? But we're going to get there. By summer of 2013, Emani is pulled out of school. And this is the biggest thing that I hate. When we were looking at the Kelly Bryant case during COVID, when the children weren't in school, I remember thinking before I started hearing about the Kelly Bryant cases and all of that, like, wow, what is going to happen to the babies? Because for a lot of people, school is the only way or place where they can get a little bit of separation between them and their monsters at home. And so to not have that is horrifying. So by her pulling her out, then she was able to do anything that she wanted. Tiffany isolates her, and while neighbors only see her, Tiffany isolates this baby, and then neighbors are only seeing her biological children. So her biological children are fine, but they don't see this baby. Bonnie is confined to the bedroom and then not eating for weeks. She becomes so weak at some point that she can't move, and it gets more and more out of control. When I say this one is a mother monster, I really do mean it. Now, if you know me, you know that I believe that women are not born evil. That I believe, and I stand by it, that something had to have happened in order for a person to be this cold and lacking empathy. And in this case, I found that I could possibly be right. Really quickly, my name is T Styles. I'm a national best-selling author and filmmaker, and I literally create monsters for a living, meaning that the characters in my books and sometimes my movies show and depict these type of people. I do that to raise awareness under the guise of entertainment. And so I have studied these kind of people extensively. And so when I was reviewing this case, I'm like, it's terrible as it is. This one is just as bad as the other ones, but it was worse for me because the father was there. Like, sir, what are you doing? We're going to get into that. But I ended up finding out that there was something going on with her, and there was a reason why she could be this cruel. Going back, in October 24th, 2013, Emani suffers from what Iman believes is a seizure. She can no longer move, and then her eyes go back. For 4 days, she lies in the bed, and she's unaliving, not existing anymore. On October 28th, she takes her final breath, okay? Now, this is this man's daughter, okay? Instead of calling for help, y'all, instead of calling for help and trying to get somebody to find out what's going on with the situation, Tiffany and Iman plan a cover-up. The first thing they do is they keep the body in their home for 4 days, okay? Mind you, they got other kids. They got 2 kids, okay? Only God knows what these kids saw. They buy a trash can, charcoal, and lighter and fluid. And on November 1st, 2013, they tried to burn the remains in the trash can. I'm not making this up, okay? The fire doesn't consume the remains, so they take it back to the house. They put it in the trunk of a car and take it back to the house, okay? To do what? I have no idea. Of course, it didn't work. Iman, I guess, just beside himself with all kinds of stuff, guilt, afraid of being caught, any number of things, finally breaks down and calls the police, saying that he has the remains in his house. Yes. Emani pleads guilty in 2015 and is sentenced to life without parole. She is another story. Now, because y'all know me, y'all know that I don't believe that women are inherently evil. I don't care what happens, and definitely mothering women of mothering ages. I believe there's some kind of mental illness or something else had to take place. So when I'm looking at this case, I'm like, I know that there's something else. If I'm writing this story, I have to find out there's something else. Well, Tiffany Moss represented herself at trial in 2019. The jury found her guilty immediately, child. And she was sentenced to death, making her the only woman on Georgia's death row. Georgia should have placed its own self on death row because they kept giving this little girl back to these people. When she first was arrested for child C abuse, that should have been it, but it was not it. And in fact, they continue to let her out. Now, I had one question. The father, what could make him so passive in this? It really made me angry. And just like I know that women can have mental illnesses and things like that, I know men can too, which is why I'm always like, we keep on saying we gotta hear another story like this. Until we get down to what's going on, we can continue to hear stories like this. But anyway, I want to know, why didn't he stop it? So I researched further, because if I'm going to put this kind of character in my books or movies, I need to know why. And I learned that he could have had something called a learned helplessness, which is a passive personality. Emani had a history of violence, but in this case, he wasn't completely passive. He allowed Tiffany to starve her despite seeing her waste away. Okay? This could be explained by the fear of Tiffany, and men do fear women. I'm going to do a whole series on that too, because men are getting the shit beat out of them too by women. It does happen. Deep-seated guilt from his own past, and psychological dependence by letting Tiffany take control of everything, probably the finances, the house, and all of that. He could quite well be a good uncle. But the bystander syndrome is a real thing. And cognitive dissonance, some individuals freeze in situations of moral conflict. And if Emani couldn't accept what was happening, his brain may have shut it out as a defense mechanism. And that happens in a lot of other cases, not even cases like this. It's a self-preservation mechanism in a lot of us. Like, I'm not saying it. If I don't see it or pay any attention, I'll be fine. Like if you walk by and see somebody getting attacked, just by watching, I'm not seeing it. It's not happening. I'm going to mind my business. The example of the Holocaust survivors noted that many guards didn't intervene, not because they were evil in the Holocaust, with the ends and all of that, but because they psychologically blocked out what they saw. Okay? So there could be a possible reason of why he tapped out. Nobody wants to hear it. I get it. But again, I want to know why these things are happening. That's what we discuss on my channel. We go into detail, but we want to know why. And if you want more of that, please subscribe and comment. So then I went to her. I'm like, there is a reason. And this is what I found, y'all. Georgia lawyers seek to intervene after brain damage defendant permitted to represent herself in a death penalty trial. They looked at her brain, and her brain had brain damage. They actually put it under the scope, forget what they call it. And they saw that she had serious issues. Tiffany Moss, who was convicted in 2019 for starving a stepdaughter, Emani, we know she was sentenced to death, and she still remains on death row. And as a matter of fact, though an execution date is still was set, it's still unclear as of not right now what's going to happen. But during her trial, Moss represented herself, which we know, and the court documents revealed that she had damage in her premortal and prefrontal cortex areas that's responsible for impulse control. She didn't have any because of that. Decision-making, executive function. According to Dr. Stein, an expert in brain injuries, damage in this region can impair judgment, emotional regulation, so lack of empathy and all of that, and logical thinking, potentially explaining her silence and lack of defense strategy in court. So while Moss underwent mental health evaluation and was deemed fit for trial, her inability to effectively defend herself led to legal concerns that a death sentence could lead to an overturn and an appeal. Now, we don't want her out. And that be my thing. Y'all think, or a lot of people think, that just because somebody has mental illness, that means they get back out on the street. No. Matter of fact, you keep them in there. The majority of people that are in prison had something going on at home. Okay. But what about the kids? That's what I keep talking about. And I'm going to continue to talk about it. If we don't stop this and start looking at the kids and start trying to figure out why, we are going to breed more monsters.